Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Unanimous decision to approve the agenda. 4.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings. 4.1, November 9th, 2021, regular city council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Any further discussions from council on the minutes as they were submitted? Beth, would you conduct a roll vote?
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Regular city council minutes were approved unanimously. 4.2, November 15th, 2021, special city council meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John. Any further council discussion? Beth?
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve the special city council minutes carried unanimously. 5.0, public hearings, none. 6.0, proclamations, none. 7.0, old business. 7.1, project status update from Snyder and Associates, Lindsey Beeman, Tim Wallace. Please state your name and.
Oh, I don't have anything. I mean, I don't have anything extra to report. Just here if you have questions, Lindsay Snyder.
Do you know when we'll get the appraisal or close to the appraisal for the old Dubuque Road extension?
Or should we, I mean, the estimate was what, 6 to 8 weeks, and it could be a couple more weeks still at least.
Couple more.
We'll see. They're gonna move as fast as they could, so it depends on the appraisers themselves, their workload.
Hopefully by year end. So what's that do for our time frame?
We just have to have the agreements in place for the land acquisition so that we can get the final plans into the DOT for their review. That just sets the schedule depending on, like we talked at the meeting, it's a month by month schedule to DOT. So just staying one step ahead of their next month's middle date.
Okay.
Any other questions for Lindsay? Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
7.2, project status update from HR Green, Andrew Marsh, Josh Scanlon.
Good evening, Andrew Marsh with HR Green, here to also answer any questions on our monthly report that we submitted. I think you guys all have copies in your packets. I'm happy to answer any questions. Work is progressing, continuing on several of the projects there. That Sycamore project that we've talked about several times in the past is ready to be bid. We've been talking about selecting a bidding schedule sometime this winter so that contractors can line up the work for the next construction season next year. So maybe February, take or give. I don't have any personal preference. It's just whenever it works out with the council schedule. Construction's continuing on the Jordan Well up at near the water treatment plant across the street. I attended the construction progress meeting a couple weeks ago. Things are progressing on schedule for the most part there. And appreciate the council's support. We are proceeding with disinfection alternatives analysis for the water treatment plant that was approved at the last council meeting. So thank you for that. And again, here to answer any questions.
I don't know if this is a question for you, but for the 5-way intersection study, have we done the traffic counts yet, or when will that be done?
We have not, and actually the discussion with the DOT has been to possibly postpone the TEEP study until after Old Dubuque Road extension is done. Since it's gonna have quite an impact on traffic flow once that opens,
It'll change it drastically, yes.
right?
Okay,
That makes
And,
sense.
and we can't really tear it up or do anything too drastic with it until that happens anyway, since it's kind of the main way in and out.
okay,
So it's on hold for now.
okay.
That makes a lot of
So I
sense.
can expand on that if you don't mind. So the risk is that if you do proceed with the traffic counts now and design the intersection perfectly for these conditions now, that ultimately won't be as beneficial of a job when that street improvement is done adjacent to this one. So the idea is to get representative traffic count data. So that put the brakes on it a little bit for the moment.
Makes perfect sense.
Good.
Not for the immediate, not for right now, but for the long term, it makes a lot of sense.
I hope people have listened and know that it's been addressed. It just has to wait a little bit. So it's a reason.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. 7.3, second reading of an ordinance for a vacant property register. First reading was held 4/26/21.
I couldn't tell from reading this what the status would be of a property that's been vacant for 4 or 5 years. But it's being kept up outside, the yard's being mowed. Does that apply to the new definition?
I would think they would still want to register it as a vacant property. Yeah, if you would.
That's who you're looking at.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derek Lumsden, Jones County Economic Development. We helped with this, so I think that was why she's looking at me. So we'd still register as a vacant property, just because even if it's being kept up, there's still some disincentive to having it full, because there are tax vacancies that people can get from the county to lower their property taxes, even though it's vacant. So that was part of the thought behind it, instead of incentivizing not only derelict properties, but ones that are not being utilized, to have them on the register. That way, not only so the city knew which ones were vacant, which ones were accessible, but to make sure that there was a list that people could utilize moving forward. Yep.
Is there a reason there's such a big gap between the readings, like from the first one that we didn't?
So, well, I had sent it for legal review and then we were going to incorporate it into the larger recodification. But we're just going to go move some of these forward because they're sitting on the shelf a little long and
Part of this goes hand in hand with, it mentions a zoning administrator or a code official. We
Right.
don't have kind of the works we've talked about it.
right. So yeah, we've got a couple of pieces left to get into place for that code enforcement. Correct. Oh, they're all done? Okay.
Would we want to approve the second reading?
Yep.
Is there any other council discussion on second reading? Any public comment on the vacant property ordinance? None, I'd entertain a motion to approve the second reading.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by John, second by Rich. Any further discussion? Beth?
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to approve second reading carried unanimously. 7.4 downtown facade project update, discussion and possible action on change orders. Derek Lumsden.
Derek Lums again from Jones County Economic Development. And this time I don't have to say that we're facing supply chain issues because hopefully you've been downtown and you've seen all the great work that's gone on since the last time I was here. We have all the upper story windows in the project and most of it's being trimmed out currently. We have all but I think 4 or 5 of the first floor story windows and the storefront windows, with the exception of 205 East Main, because the second storefront of Vendor Village hasn't been torn out yet. That probably won't happen until after Thanksgiving before they do that out to give them this week, upcoming weekend and stuff to be open. But if you'll notice, they've done a lot of everything done that they can do outside is done, with the exception of putting in the windows and doing some of the aluminum, which they were putting on today. So that will continue. The next month or so will be a lot of interior work, framing out the interior windows, trimming it, getting all that stuff done, and tearing out the storefront on 205 East Main, that second half of Vendor Village. And we're hoping to get those windows and stuff in by the time they get framed out, measured, ordered, closed down for Christmas, probably sometime in January before that'll get done. But they'll be here for the next month or two, still getting all that stuff in and trimmed and done for the owners' benefit. And then in the spring, probably in March, the painter will come back and get the 1 or 2 things on the exterior that he has to do, primarily painting one building and then some touch-ups on the others. So there won't be a lot of updates from now on. It'll be sort of individual spot work. But the main thing you'll see between this month and next month is that the final windows will go in and Vendor Village's second storefront should be torn out and framed out. I don't think we have any change orders for today, though.
Any questions for Derek?
Looking good.
Thanks. I think so too. Be crazy when it's all done.
Any public comment? Being no action, I'll move on. 7.5, review and approval of pay application number 5 to Tricon in the amount of $226,075.03 for the downtown facade project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Beth?
Stout,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried unanimous. 7.6, discussion and possible action on selecting an architect for phase 2 of the downtown facade project. Derek Lumsden.
Derek Lumsden from J said again. So obviously it's fun to talk about the project that's happening, but now we get to talk about the project that will happen. And so in your packet, you had the 2 RFQs that we got, one from Martin Gardner Architecture and the other one from Envision. Looking them over, they're pretty much, equal in almost every way. So either I've worked with both of these companies on facade projects in the past, obviously Martin Gardner on this one and Envision and Osceola. So I really don't have a preference either way. Both firms are capable of doing it. Both firms can turn it in and get the work done and work with the state. So it's really whichever one the council feels comfortable with of doing. There's not a preference on my end either way.
Do you think there's an advantage to continuing with the same firm for the rest of the projects? Or doesn't that really come into play?
It could to a degree for the people that had a rendering done a couple of years ago, but in terms of what the project will do or how it ultimately ends up at the state level, there's not really a difference. They both have all the same tools and talent. So you're not really gaining one thing or the other over using Martin Gardner over Envision or vice versa.
Do we have price for these 2 in here? or is
No,
this
it's
just-
not, cost is not allowed to be part of this one.
Okay, that's just a general information about them and
Yep.
differences. Okay.
And so the way the RFQ was written, and it's probably been a while since anybody looked at it, is whichever one you choose tonight, hopefully the motion will include that if a mutually agreeable solution isn't arrived at by December 3rd, then we would move on to the next one. Because time is sort of of the essence as we try to get ready for the next round. And so we can't drag this out, all December and January stuff, because we got to get meeting with building owners and such. So the hope is that you'd have a final one to approve by December 13th, instead of finding out December 13th, the first one didn't work, and then having to go out for the second one.
Our relationship with them.
Yeah, I agree. They seem to be good to work with and it's looking good.
Well, I haven't heard any complaints, which is a positive. But I still think as they're designing, there might be some advantage to keep things as similar as possible. Because another firm may have a different design for some of this in their mind. So I would think keeping continuity is a positive. So I would second. Was your motion
Sure.
to do Martin Gardner?
Yep.
I'll second that.
Can we include in that if we don't have that Envision would be second to start if we don't get that on the timeline
Yes.
For December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Thanks.
So motion by Kay, second by Rich, to move forward with selection of Martin Gardner, with Envision being the second, tentatively for December 3rd. Is all council clear on that motion? Take that as a yes. Any further discussion? Public comment?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Thanks.
Motion to approve selection of Martin Garner carried unanimously. 8.0 new business. 8.1 introduction, WHKS engineers, biosolids and dewatering project.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kevin Graves. I'm an associate and the team lead for our water wastewater group at WHKS.
And I'm Mike Shimkus. I'm the office manager of our Dubuque area office, and I'm a structural engineer.
So we wanted to come here tonight. We don't have any specific action to request from the council, but we did want to introduce ourselves and let you guys know we appreciate the opportunity to work with the city on this project out at the wastewater plant. We just talk real briefly about what we have planned for that project and the general timeline, and let you guys ask any questions that you may have. So in short, we are looking at an evaluation that has 6 different components to it that were kind of outlined in that proposal that was last month. And all 6 of those components are intertwined. So it really makes sense as Steve put this together to really look at all these components together, because one can really affect the others. And, so in short, that's looking at the phosphorus removal treatment that's at the plant, how well that's currently working, looking at your existing tankage to see if some reuse of that tankage for the solids handling makes sense for potentially a sludge thickener or emergency sludge storage. There's the belt filter press, the dewatering equipment, looking at that, starting to plan for as that it nears the end of its useful life, does it make sense to refurbish it or replace it, look at different potential options for new equipment that may be less operations intensive and maybe a good long-term solution for you. The electrical and mechanical in that building that houses the press. And then a couple additional items that got included. There's some walkway platform safety issues in one of the buildings that should be addressed. And then the stormwater lift station just outside the treatment facility that is a little bit off on its own, but the electrical that serves the pumps that are there are tied within that belt filter press building. So that kind of ties it all in together. So we want to look at all of those things together, make sure we have good cost-effective solutions for you guys on each of those components, and then tying all together so that at the end of our design development phase, which is what we're currently planning to do for you, we have some good recommendations to come back with, say, here's how you can address all 6 of these items, whether that's one project or potentially a couple smaller intertwined projects, and come back and say, here's how we want to proceed, how we think we should proceed from moving into a design phase. Just in short time frame, we had a kickoff meeting this afternoon with city staff. Talked with Steve, Robert, and Shane. I got some initial ideas and brainstorming going. I think we have a good start to where we want to end up with the design development. And we're looking at we're trying to aim for the March, April timeframe to have those items wrapped up and brought back to the council for your recommendations or to move forward with design. So again, if you wanted to add anything quick about just OHGS in general or other thoughts.
Well, I mean, the big question is, why am I here as a structural engineer? And the answer is that there are a couple structures on the project, but most importantly is that I will be the primary contact. I'm from the office that's closest to your community. So if there's anything that you need, if there's any communication, criticism, or compliments, are both welcome in equal measure. And I can be the person to answer the phone and help make sure that you get your concerns met. If for some reason you can't get a hold of Kevin, who will be the project manager. So our firm's been around for about 70 years, general civil firm, structural, transportation, water, wastewater, environmental, survey. And we look forward to working with you and are grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Council, any questions or comments?
Look forward to seeing what you guys come up with.
Kevin, Mike, thank you for taking time out to join us and give the introduction, and I'm sure all the council and the community are looking forward to our partnership together.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
8.2, review and approval of development agreement to transfer for Eagle View Land Development, Inc.
So previously we had 3 development agreements for Chamber Drive, the 3 business or the 3 commercial lots there. Lot 2 and 3 do have buildings on them now. They are under different ownership, so they've been sold since. So this just is proceedings that I need to have bond counsel start to transfer those agreements to the new owner. The 2 resolutions that follow, those will be for the first year of the increment rebate for Eagle View. They'll make arrangements to make sure they get to the right person. We don't have to have responsibility for that. And then once the transfer agreements are completed, then the following years will be in those entities' names for the requests annually.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Further council discussion? Public comment?
Smith,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve development agreement transfers carried unanimously. 8.3, resolution obligating funds for the urban renewal tax revenue fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for Eagle View Land Development Incorporated, Nova Holdings LLC, Lot 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Further council discussion? Public comment?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.4, resolution obligating funds for the urban renewal tax revenue fund for appropriations to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for Eagle View Land Development, Inc., Nova Holdings LLC, Lot 3.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Kay. Council discussion? Public comment?
Capron,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.5, resolution setting the date of December 13th, 2021 at 6 PM at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center for a meeting at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with By Design LLC, including annual appropriation tax increment payments.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John. Council discussion? Public comment?
Stout,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.6, review and approval of new precinct map.
So every time there's a census completed, you have to re-precinct. Since we don't have wards, we're just going to follow the county's suggestion. This is the map I've gotten from Jones County, from the auditor's office. And there, we'll have a public hearing, so you'll see the next item is setting public hearing. There is a public comment section, period, where we will hear comments. We generally do an agreement where that allows you to vote in one place here, since we don't have wards, so not too much changes for us, other than by law, we have to re-precinct.
Was there any changes from the last time?
Pretty minor. Mainly it had to do with how the county wanted to, where the county shifted it. It pretty much splits things in half here, so. And again, we don't have wards, so it doesn't really affect who can vote for what. We did lose a small amount, 82 people we lost in our population in the census, so it was pretty minor shift. But
I'll make a motion to approve the new precinct map.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Galen. Further council discussion? Public comment?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.7, resolution setting the date of December 13th, 2021, 6 p.m. at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center for a meeting at which public comment can be made as to the proposed new precinct boundaries.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Galen. Council discussion. Public comment. Beth, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.8, review and approve the fire department budget for fiscal year 2023.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment. Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Motion to approve budget carried unanimous. 8.9, resolution setting the date of December 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Anamosa Library and Learning Center for a public hearing for amending the current city budget for fiscal year 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Galen, second by Rich. Council discussion.
For the public's information, this is for a specific project that we're amending this.
several things.
One for
Mainly
one.
what prompted it is that so we had been tracking the water and the wastewater projects and capital projects in the budget. The state has requested that those projects may be moved under capital projects under the enterprise fund for tracking instead. So that's kind of the biggest part. That's the $3 and the $2 million projects. The other things were just the minor things that were either delayed or we couldn't get completed by the end of the last fiscal year. So mostly it's our derecho damage with the Lawrence Center and the Parks Department, some with City Hall. The renovations upstairs in City Hall, we ended up paying that in this fiscal year instead of the last one. We had a couple of major storm sewer projects that we tried to get done last year and it just didn't work out. So most of it has to do with that. I'm trying to think of what else. Wayfinding signage. We didn't have that in the budget, so I just needed to add that. Water meter upgrades, again, we didn't get them until later. And so, yeah, otherwise just a variety of those smaller things. The Stallion Creek project.
Any other questions? Public comment? Beth?
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.10, review and approval the budget calendar for the fiscal year 23 budget.
So with the way the calendar falls for January, February, and March, and the way our meetings fall, we are going to be kind of compressed up to doing most of our budget meetings in January. So that's about it.
Are we moving back to City Hall in January? Or are they gonna be there?
I don't know. I can put that on the next agenda if you want to talk about
I
it.
think when we decided that, it was to be decided in December.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking on January 17th, there'll probably be a library board meeting here,
There will be, yes.
but it's at 7, so it might be fine.
possibly, or we could move it to a Tuesday. Again, this is just so we can talk about what dates you think are gonna work.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the 17th would be the same night as the library board meeting. So we could do it the 18th. Really, the hard deadlines are the public notices and the deadline for forms to be at the state. So, and you can't overlap your public hearings. So you have to complete that levy process before you can actually approve the budget. And really the March 22nd meeting is just really too close to the deadline if something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. So yeah, really the January 17th one is probably the biggest conflict. We could, or move it to Wednesday, or I can check with Veronica and see what the schedule looks like here. Unless we're at City Hall, and then we should be fine. However, they are going to tear the carpet out of the council chambers in January. So I'll have to think about that one again. I could maybe push them back off till February, but
Maybe you get lunch.
right.
For budget meeting.
Yeah. It'll mainly just be, so yeah, it'll be the, that's really just our review night. So we can always decide on the 10th, after those budgets are presented, if you think you want to have one. Really, that's just that extra night. Really, probably an hour would do it, so we probably would be fine here,
Well, we could always maybe even go to the LCC.
right?
I'll move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John. I guess just for a little bit of clarification, Rich, is the motion to approve as submitted or with a modification?
As submitted.
All right, thank you. John, you're still second on that?
Yes.
Okay. Council discussion? Any public comment? Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.11, review and approval of the annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
any questions?
Move to approve.
Motion by Rich to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any further council discussion? Public comment? Beth, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Mockart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried unanimous. 8.12, review and approval of CDBG Housing Grant Administration Contract.
So this means it's official. We have the CDBG grant for the houses. This will be the COG will administer the grant.
And this is for the husband. that we would- the
Correct.
five that we already talked about.
Yes. Yep.
That's approved.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Jeff. Council discussion. Public comment. Beth?
Mockart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.13 resolution approving the hiring and setting salary for the position of park and recreation intern and part-time employee for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Move to improve. Second.
Motion by Galen, second by John. Further council discussion?
What program is Leslie part
Shelley Carr, Parks and Rec Director. He is golf course and athletic turf field management
at which school?
Parkwood.
Oh,
Further council discussion? Public comment?
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
yes,
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.14 discussion of possible action on establishing a stormwater utility.
So internally, our discussion has been that we do have a lot of stormwater areas that need improvement or are just failing and need replaced. Being our topography kind of leads itself to needing storm water control. This is kind of this would be establishing stormwater as its own utility. So it would be a fee on a utility bill. It can either be calculated on a formula or it can be a flat rate. We would involve an engineer in calculating the formula, and we would definitely need bond counsel to help us establish the stormwater utility. So before I investigate any farther than that, I just was asking if this was a road you were interested in going down or not. I know Marion, it's based on your impermeable square footage of your lot. In Wyoming, it's based on a flat fee. And again, the funds raised through the fee will stay with stormwater, so they can only be used for stormwater, same as water and sewer.
And currently, how is it being funded? The stormwater that goes down, it's just part of wastewater.
No, it's actually, right now we pay for it with local option sales tax. It's through the street department. It's just that we're getting to the point where some of the projects are going to be much larger. I mean, the two we had last year were 25,000 and I don't remember what the other one was. So we've had some, and they're not really a lot. The one was on Williams, North Williams. And we had a little bit of storm water work we did in the storm drain behind Main Street. And then we had a larger one out on Dakota Court. Or no, Dakota Court, yeah.
I guess the only concern is with the fee, our water bills are pretty high for a community our size. I just hate to see us fee anybody else, any more than they already are, because I think we're on the top end for water utility bills for towns this size.
Well, one question I've got is, are you charging everybody, even if they do not have a storm sewer
Correct. It would
And
be,
through their neighborhoods.
Because there's streets that don't have curb and gutter.
Correct.
Right. Even some of them that don't have curb and gutter still have some drainage that's in, there's a lot of drainage. There's a lot of stormwater drainage infrastructure that you probably don't realize is there. Some of it goes through backyards. Anyway, just, that's why we're having a conversation. It just may be increasingly harder to fund those repairs if they become a larger project. We've been trying to include them in, so that's why we've done, like with Lindsay, we've had the change where we added water and storm sewer to the Forest Main project, the wastewater phase 2 of the Second Street lift station, to try and, as long as we're digging up the area, to include those with it. But again, funding them will be increasingly harder. I mean, you have a lot of things like when we go through the budget, you'll see how many things we pay out of local option sales tax. So if stormwater takes up another larger part of that, what's it going to do to the projects and the other departments is all.
I think I need more information.
Okay.
I'm not, I don't have, I'm from a rural water area. And the water bills there are a whole lot higher. than that.
Yeah.
And you don't even pay sewage. I don't know. More information.
Steve may have something to add.
Steve Agnich Utilities. When I said something to Beth about, because there was a little bit of discrepancy with the stormwater pumping station behind the wastewater plant. Does it belong to me? Does it belong to Shane? It is stormwater. Any other town I've been involved with, that's where the stormwater utility come in. And the proposed that we had talked about was like $2 or $3 a month on somebody's water bill. It's not a big increase. And then, because like they just said, about $50,000 they paid for Shane's improvements. And I think we figured with a $3 or $4 a guesstimate would bring in about that $50,000.
Right.
So we have a $2 tax in Wyoming on our utility bill. So for what we do in town, and everybody pays it that has a water bill. And in Lakota, it was $3 or $4, but they have a little more storms, obviously, than Wyoming does. So it was just a way to help create funds to pay for that stuff. That's all.
Kay has asked for some more information. Not real sure if I should take that in a motion form, Kay, or
Just out of curiosity, what kind of information are you looking for?
Well, I guess I don't understand what's water utility would do.
So the easiest ones to think about are the ones that are along the curb. So wherever there's a storm intake. So that obviously feeds into another place where it drains. So eventually it all should drain towards like Stallion Creek, or most of it drains towards Stallion Creek, I think. So that it gets the water from, running into your house. It'll guide it. You engineer things so that the water flows to the storm inlet and then gets out of the area. So you don't have the area flooding. So the large ones we have though out down by the wastewater plant, those are if we get a certain amount of rain to alleviate flooding in that area.
I guess I'd be curious to see if you added $1 to everybody's bill, what kind of revenue that would bring if you added $2 or something.
Okay.
Kind of get a comparative of what kind of dollars we're talking about that this could generate for the storm sewers. Because just saying maybe it might add $2 or it might add $4,
Right.
that doesn't help me much.
So generally, that's where we have to get an engineer involved. So they're going to look at what we're going to need and what we need to, kind of like when we do a rate survey for water and sewer. So we're gonna, like we're putting a new well in. So rates have to correspond so that it can pay for itself. So you kind of have to have someone involved, which costs money usually, to look at the system, evaluate, at least a good guess what you would need to replace every year, or how much you would need to replace a certain section a year.
Well, the way I'm looking at this is not getting that in depth at this point is if we're using local option sales tax now.
Right.
If we say add $1.
Yeah.
That's going to reduce what we're going to have to use for the local option sales tax. If we added $2, that reduces it even a little bit more. So I'm not saying
Right.
if we're going to do 50,000 a year, are we going to generate 50,000 a year? I'm just looking at what can we do at a small scale to help offset maybe some of that.
Right.
At least to start with, and then we can maybe see how it's going, but I don't want to jump in and have an engineer say, well, you got to do this. And all of a sudden we're adding $5 to everybody's water bill.
Right.
And then it becomes a burden someplace. We can kind of stair step if we have to, at least see where we're heading. I'd be a kind of more inclined to do something along that line. So if we can kind of, what's the revenue that's going to be generated if we do it in at, like $1 or $1.50 or $2 or whatever,
Okay.
to maybe offset some of that local option.
Is this something that can't be used by road use? I mean, you need your streets and your curbs, curb and gutter you can use, I assume for road use because it's street improvements.
Correct. So the curb section could be part of road use.
But not the intakes, not the storm intakes.
You're still going to have to separate it. So even road use tax wants to know what you're spending on storm. And it'll ask you what money you're using for the storm. I think right now we usually put $20,000 or $25,000 out of local option for storm.
Going in the route direction that Rich had mentioned, would it be as simple as taking the total number of water bills that are sent out?
Right.
Breaking it out as a $1 increase or fee, $2, whatever increments, and then just bringing that information back?
Yeah, because thinking about if you're gonna do the square footage of the frontage of everybody's property, that can get a little time consuming to come up with that. And I'm not sure that that's really the fairest way to do it, because the storm sewer, everybody has, or it benefits everybody. So that's why I'm thinking if we're gonna do it, we keep it at a flat. And that's just my opinion.
So we mail out about just shy of 2,000 bills every month.
So if you had 2,000 a month,
So it'd be
12 months, 24,000 roughly,
a year,
by
Yeah.
the dollar.
which would at least do a project,
Well, and
a moderate sized project.
Under current conditions, it absorbs 50%. No, I mean, just using $225,000 projects. as an
Right.
example.
And local option could still
Pitch in
handle the
the,
rest.
right. I'll just look at some other options and get some more information and just bring back that information.
We can go ahead and do that without a motion.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Any other discussion on that or some direction? Public comment?
Well, I'm Dick Dearborn, 600 North William Street, and I object to the premise of this totally. It's nothing more than another tax. You can call it a fee, but it's a tax. Okay, it's a rainwater tax. It's being paid for now by local option sales tax, so we're going to relieve that budgetary I don't know, downfall, whatever. But that's just going to be refilled by something else. You're going to still have that money from the local option sales tax. You're just going to spend that on something else. And I object to it. I think we're getting on a slippery slope here. We're starting with $1. The discussion seems to be $1, maybe $2. It's not a burden. It's a utility. It's a slippery slope. We don't need more taxes in town. We need to lower taxes. Okay. We have way too many fees going on now. We just had a big increase in our property tax assessments, and I realize you're going to tell me that's just your assessment. We're not the ones in charge of that. End result is you get more money out of it. So what are you doing with it? Now you're asking for more. We got to stop this slippery slope. We got to start looking for savings. No more spending. Okay. Now there's plenty of stuff that needs spending on. I'm not anti-spending, but this isn't one of them. The streets, as Jeff was talking about, should take care of a lot of that as you're improving the streets and whatnot. But this is just a money shift, and we don't need no more taxes, no more. And that's what this is a tax. Call it a fee if you want. It's a tax. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Any additional comment from the public? We'll have further discussion on 8.14. 8.15, review and approval of pay application number 1 for the well number 6 project to Gingrich Well and Pump Service LLC in the amount of $137,750.
So moved. Second.
Motion by John, second by Rich. Further council discussion?
Just for clarification, so the 15 reads 137,750 in the packet references 145,000. Which one's correct?
So on page 1 of the pay request. So the 145 is they save retainage out of that amount. So you only pay them the 137,750. So
So the bill's 145, but that's less the retainage.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Just clarifying.
Additional public, or excuse me, additional council discussion? Public comment? Beth?
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.16, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John. Council discussion.
I just have two comments or questions for the barred concrete. Most of it's St. Pat's parking lot. That's us buying the material and did the prison provide the labor?
correct.
Just making sure that all through like that. And the other one was on Reds towing for 2,600. It says vehicle maintenance, which department, what type of work and what department vehicle? Oh. Just
Dan Frank, Fire Chief. So that is on two of our trucks, we upgraded, and updated our steer tires on the front.
Okay. It just,
So-
I didn't see it in here. So.
Yeah, one was like 900, the other one was 1,300. I think there's another bill for a couple $100 or something else.
Council have any other questions on the bills? Public comment? Beth?
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Rump,
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimous. 9.0, city administrators report.
well, we've printed the bills on the new forms. It did not go as planned, so apologies to the public. They are on reminder notices, so the back doesn't have the address. You tear the bottom off for the stub now. We're getting there. We're getting there. So the bills are correct. They're just not ideally printed is all. Other than that, that's these agenda items and the utility billing software is what we've been working on.
Council have any questions?
I just go along with that. I've had a couple comments. So one, it doesn't show the previous balance. So if you're comparing last month, this month, is that going to be
So
taken care of?
it should. When we did the import from the old system, I'm not sure if it just didn't sort them correctly or where that went, but it does have historical data in the accounts. Like I said, we're still working on that. Some of them even got printed on blank stock because we had some errors with how the print was set up. So it'll get better.
Okay. And the other one
I
was
hope.
a couple people that had automatic, like I looked at mine, it's not auto and there's the balance and if you're late, how much, but a couple people that had automatic bank payments where it was already assessing the late fee, like it was
Right.
it was both numbers were the same, including the late fee, it looked like.
So it should say paid by draft above where it says that amount after the due date. So if you know of who has that, just have them call so we know, because we didn't get to look at every bill quite as detailed as we would have liked. But yeah, any problems, just have them call so we can at least note what their bill looked like. So we make sure. We did do the auto pay file today and everything went fine as far as I know. And so yeah, it should say paid by draft at the top or in that square of. So yeah, so it automatically prints the late fee. If for some reason your bank draft didn't go through, so either the bank rejected it or something happened, then if you had to pay it later, well, you'd have a late fee. So it just automatically prints that. But if you're doing a bank draft, you won't ever get that late fee. Because it should pull it on the 26th this month.
adjust that so there's not confusion?
It didn't give us the option to take that off of there, just. So if you know, so if the bank notifies you that your draft isn't going to go through for whatever reason, you can always come in and pay it before the due date to avoid the penalty. But if for some reason the draft didn't go through, then you would have that higher amount. So it's kind of like the old bill had at the top where it said if paid by, and then it said if paid after. I just don't think it had the, well, it might have had the little dollar amount there for the penalty. I don't know, I'll have to pull an older one out and look and see, but yeah, generally you're not gonna get the penalty through a bank draft, but
Other questions? Public comments? I'm sorry. It didn't scratch off 8.16. 10.0, mayor and council reports. 10.1, mayor's report. I don't have anything to report. I see that the city staff was busy and put up lights through the downtown. Nice work, bringing some festive atmosphere to the downtown area. I know all the staff is busy, so to get that done in such a prompt time was appreciated. Anything else? So 10.2, council reports.
Library map, we're no longer searching for another trustee for the board. Still, budget work has started and we're replacing 3 computers, I believe.
Thanks, Dave. Can you release the trustees name?
No, I don't know, because I thought that perhaps the council had to do, I don't know.
yep,
Oh, we do.
yeah,
Okay.
it'll be, whenever they give me the information, there'll be a resolution on the next agenda for that trustee.
Thank you. I
Sure.
didn't know that. Choices for sure, right?
11.0, public comments for items not on the agenda. Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by John, second by Rich. Consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Ask.